Are you planning on buying your first home in the near future? Stick around and I'll tell you about the 5 things I wish I'd done differently when I bought my first home. Hi, I'm Stacey Menton from SingingMamasHomestead.com, where we provide information for singers and professional voice users who are interested in learning more about vocal wellness on a path to whole person wellness. Part of my journey to wellness has included buying my first home to create my first urban homestead. Let's talk about the 5 things I wish I'd done differently. Number 1, create a budget. I did not create a budget. I basically said, oh, well, we're getting some money back from the down payment because it was 100% loan. I lucked into that one. So we were going to get a little bit of money back at the down payment, and I was just like, it'll all work out. We'll go get a credit card for Home Depot, and we'll get a credit card for Lowe's, and then we actually ended up getting a credit card for Best Buy. We did it kind of all the way backwards. So creating a budget for things that you wouldn't think that you need. Number 1, we needed a lawnmower, and we needed a weed whacker, and we needed a shed to put those things in. And then we needed a new kitchen table because the one we had at the apartment was actually too big for the space that our dining area is here at this house. And then I also went off and bought a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't need, but because I hadn't budgeted, it didn't seem to matter. What you should really do is create a budget. If you're looking for a great budgeting system, I'd highly recommend thebudgetmom.com. She has taught me so much about my spending habits and why they are there, and kind of helped me redirect all of our budget since then. And I'm happy to say that we're much better off this far down the road. We bought the house about 3 years ago now, almost 3 years ago now. Number 2, buy only what you need, and then slowly start to buy those wants as you have the funds available to buy them. I did not only buy what we needed. Yes, I bought the shed that we needed, and the lawnmower that we needed, and the mailbox, and the weed whacker. But what I did not buy, or what I did end up buying as well, was a kitchen island that I didn't need right away. I could have lived without to begin with. And then I bought brand new towels, but I had brought towels from the apartment that were practically new, but I needed new ones. I insisted at that time. And then I also bought new sheets and bedding for the newly dubbed guest room, which in hindsight, we had guest room sheets and everything because we had a guest room at the apartment. Number 3, be patient. When we first knew what our closing date was going to be, my husband called around to all the different movers. We moved in early July. I think we closed sometime towards the end of June. So we were going to move the first weekend before, or I think we were moving the first weekend right before July 4th. So it would have been like end of June. End of June is kind of a popular time in a college town because it's when the college kids are leaving their, house that they had for the past year and moving to the next house or something to that extent. So all the college kids are moving, and I was told that it's going to be really hard to find a mover during that time. So my husband lucked into a mover who had availability on our date, and he called me and said, "Is this what we want?" And I said, "Yes, that's perfect. Let's do it." He forgot to call them back. So by the time he realized he had forgotten to call them back, they had given up our spot. And so they were like, "Well, we have the following week available. Would that work?" But me, I was not patient. I said, "No, that will not work. We're going to have to move everything on our own." So that's what we ended up doing. I was sore for 3 days, and it cost me just as much as if I had had movers to rent the truck and the insurance for the truck, and then the mileage and everything because it was all in town. It ended up costing me just as much, and I still ended up really sore afterwards which doesn't make any kind of sense. Next time, I will be patient and I will say, yes, we can wait an extra week, even though I was very, very excited to get into the new house. Number 4, create a schedule for putting all the things together that you bought that you needed or that you could afford that you wanted. I didn't have a schedule. The day that we signed the papers, we went over to Home Depot and we bought all the blinds that I knew we were going to need. So we came over here and bought all the blinds, and then I brought them in and I started installing them. And honestly, that took longer than I ever would have thought. And once all of the blinds were in, there was still the table that needed to be put together, and the kitchen island that I had purchased needed to be put together. So assembling all those things, and my husband had to install the mailbox because we didn't have one. There was just several things that I just didn't think would take as much time. But what I didn't take into consideration was I had a 2-year-old at the time too, and so he was 2. He needed supervision, and it was really hard to supervise and try to do all of those things together. So make sure you take some time and plan out when you're going to do what, and show yourself some grace and don't overdo it. Number 5, childcare. Find childcare for not just the day that you're moving. We had childcare the day we moved. My husband's mother came in from Maryland and she stayed with Ray all day long. I think they stayed at the Chick-fil-A because it had a play place. And she wanted Chick-fil-A. She felt comfortable eating a whole bunch of Chick-fil-A food. So we dropped her off there. And then we spent the whole day moving everything in. And then once everything was moved in, we had to go pick them up and bring them back here and have them sit and chill while we put everything away and started unpacking. It was a mess. What I would do in hindsight is have my mother-in-law come a couple of weeks ahead of time so she could stay with Ray, my son, those days when we needed to put things together. So that about covers it. If you found this video helpful, please feel free to hit the like button below. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one.